Now, Fabien Curto Millet will speak. I will read his short bio. Fabien studied at the University of Oxford, where he got his bachelor's in economy and administration, as well as a master's and PhD in economy. Uh, for 2 years, he was a professor of economics at the Balliol College in Oxford. He also obtained a postgraduate diploma on law, competition law by the King's College in London. He was a senior consultant on the in neuroeconomic consulting. He has worked on many industries, including airports, financial information, financial services, internet, mining, musical publishing, pay television, printed media, retail sales, and satellite communications. He's currently a senior economist in Google at the company's headquarters in Mountain View, California. He works closely with the economist in chief, Halparian, in the development of ideas based on data. His work in Google includes investigation to assess Google's economic value and that of the internet, as well as the creation of econometric models for key economic variables such as the unemployment rate using Google data. Well, let me finish with the last paragraph of the bio. He also leads economic analysis in regulatory processes and competition policy um, that relate to Google.
Thank you, Gabriel, and thank you for inviting me to this conference, um, which shares as all these original ideas. It's a true privilege and pleasure to be here as a Google representative to share ideas on something that's truly that we find truly that fill us with passion, which is about big data generating official information. Okay, can I have my presentation on the screens, please? It's quite visual, so I can't through sign language or mimicking explain. What's the score for the game? Do you know? Oh, it hasn't started, has it? Um, okay. So, so here we go. Let's see if the clicker works. Great. Oh, this is wonderful. Isn't this fast? Okay, I'm going to try and go slow. So opportunities to generate official information. I want to share with you the opportunities through three tools of Google's. Google Trends, which allows us to obtain indexes on search intensity for anything that concerns you. Google Correlate, which allows us to find correlation with series of searches, and Google Consumer Survey, which has a new method of conducting online surveys, and I'll tell you more about this in a moment. I'll start with Google Trends, and I'll please allow me to illustrate the importance of this data through a funny example. Let's say I invite you to all participate, so please, according to you, tell me what day of the week do we observe the highest day of the week for hangover, for the word hangover. I think in Mexico you call it cruda. Okay, you say Saturday would be Sunday, Monday, Friday, Tuesday. Okay, there's different habits here, and I'm glad to see that you're all healthy partiers. In the U.S., it's Sunday. It's very clear. You can see it. You can see the graph here. Graph for search intensity for hangover, which, as you can see, has it's quite regular. Each maximum value here is Sunday. And the peak of the series you can observe here is New Year's. So it's fantastic. So data is quite powerful. We can study this from a geographic perspective to show that New York is the hangover capital of the United States. And of course, a series at the same time can be studied. For instance, the searches for the term vodka are highest on Saturday. So I think this you don't need an econometricist to see what the correlation between these two search terms are in terms of cause and effect. Another fun example would be the search series for Civil War in the US. There hasn't been one for a long time, but as you can see, the the recurrence is quite frequent. Why is suddenly the Civil War awoken every year? What happens is that students have their final exams at a certain time of the year, so they're looking for their, uh, for example, for their term papers. So this is funny, but it's a serious topic, and we can learn very interesting things as economists. Here are data. Here we have data for Spain. This graph is a bit embarrassing as a Spanish person. They've since the crisis or the recession started in Spain, people have searched for the word discount a lot more. On the lower part, we can see rebate. People searching for the word rebate. They they appear twice a year because by law, uh, you can only have rebates twice a year, and you can see this on the searches. So you have a microscope, a powerful microscope on the behavior of our uh, society, and this is something that I find that really I'm passionate about. Okay, this is Google Trends, and it shows you options on the type of data you want to obtain. Shows you the temporary time frame from 2004 on, the geography of interest. It can be at the global scale, country level, and in some cases, you can have regions and even cities. Here you have in the state, per state, per region, the word unemployment, the search rates for unemployment, and we can restrict the search for certain categories because there's semantic ambiguity. The word apple can work some can mean something very different in the context of fruits than in the context of computers. So anytime you search for something on Google, we have an intelligent system that tries to guess whether you are looking for one category or another. And it's possible in Google Trends to say, I'm interested in the word apple as a fruit. And if you see it in the context of a fruit, which is the upper part of this slide, you can see that there's also a station because in autumn Americans start thinking of apple pies and they're looking for apple pie recipes, etc. Whether Apple the company, the searches are very different. It's also interesting to note that you cannot only do web searches for this, but also through email search, news search, or even in Google Shopping or YouTube search, depending on the interest you are investigating. So let me illustrate the power of this data and your options when you try to obtain them. First, how to interpret them. In order to be respectful of privacy, we can only obtain data from the system when they achieve a volume that's sufficient. When the volume is small, there can be privacy concerns. So it's possible that we can't obtain data on very, very restricted geographies or very, very restricted terms. Second, we must note that these are not indexes of absolute search. We process them in two ways. First, data is normalized. In other words, we take the search volume for the word shoes and we divide it by the number of searches in a specific geography in the time that you mentioned. So you get a search frequency, a percentage. Second, we order the data in such a way where the value of 100 is the highest of the temporary series of the time of interest you're searching. This is clearly illustrated. Lehman Brothers searches peak in September 2008 when the bank foreclosed, and the so we have September 2008 is the time frame, and the rest is relative to this. So another application or illustration that's a bit more concrete on how we can use this as economists. Well, my team at Google was interested in predicting the present under the leadership of Hal Varian. The idea is that we have economic variables such as the unemployment rate, which in France appears on the 21st or 22nd of the month, but which we're interested in observing continuously. And the idea is that we might generate an econometric model and that we can have these values in mind and Google values. Okay, let's see how it ends up looking like. Here are initial claims and unemployment rate. A drop in this would show the end of a recession. Here you can see our model. You can see it. You can't really see it from far, but here's the series of the level of unemployment um, requests, and here's in red is the one that adds the data from Google. This data would be the intensity of searches for a file for unemployment. Basically, that would be the query. So this shows an outcast that's much closer to the um, to the real number. So the absolute mean error drops from 14%, and when we break down the tendencies, which are the hardest to predict, it drops from 50%. So we can see that several central banks in Spain to use this data, well, they were used to predict the arrival of British tourists in Spain. They're also used by the tax revenue service in Colombia to obtain indicators, sectorial indicators for levels of activity. They publish a report each month. So there's different applications. Now we'll pass to Google Correlate, which is the tool, which is a very interesting tool. We can have a correlation between series of searches for weight loss, for instance. There's a correlation between and best vacation spots. So the series are well, we have them, and for weight loss, they're also highest. We can explore correlation in lag. 3 weeks later, for weight loss, they're correlated to I'm not losing weight, which is well, we've all had experience with this. And you can not only look for correlation between series of searches, you can also look for economic series. The Department of Commerce on sales of households, and see what searches are most correlated with this. For instance, here 1820 mortgage, and well, I use this to find inspiration when I'm studying a variable where I don't understand. Well, okay, well, um, ex- Google Consumer Surveys is an interesting tool when it comes to surveys. Um, you used to have on the internet web page editor only had two methods to monetize content. You could ask to subscribe to con- contents, or you could uh, place ads. We've invented a third one, which is a user is trying to access Bloomberg's archives, and to access the archives you need to answer to a short survey, which is of interest to someone. Everyone's happy here because editors can make money from their contents. People who want to conduct surveys, the public or private sector can conduct them at a very low cost. It's about 10 cents an answer, which is a lot less than a phone survey, and the results can be are presented impeccably. You can um, download them on CCV. You can see the differences by age, etc. So it's a system with a huge future potential, which only works in the US, UK, and Canada right now, but which we will be implementing in different countries. And when it comes to feasibility, the Pew Foundation has presented this and shown good results. And Nate Silver, a commentator, compared all the surveys for the presidential race, and Google Consumer Services was second most accurate. Conclusions. I think we have certain challenges ahead. We have great data sources, but at least two types of challenges await us. One has to do with an observation made by Herbert Simon, Nobel laureate, says that we live in an information-rich world, but this abundancy generates a poverty of attention and the necessity of distributing this attention in this overabundance of sources that may consume it. So from an econometric perspective, we have too many predictors. We have as many predictors as observers, so we can always have a perfect adjustment. And if we have more adjustments, then then it can be an issue of luck. So we have regressions, over adjustment, technical problems basically, and a field with a huge um, future is automatic model selection. So there's so many models that in order to find the pin in the haystack, we need the help of a computer. So um, fields of research such as theory of reduction or the general to specific of produced at Oxford or Bayesian models, well, they have very much potential for us. Other challenges in the collection of data, as we've seen during this conference, the private sector has an abundance of data, and not only from search engines. I'm thinking of Visa, MasterCard, UPS, um, supermarket scanners. So we have data everywhere. This is not new. We also have government agencies that have long historical series of at low frequency of that are very rigorously constructed, but with some delays, etc. A key issue is, well, to our consideration, would be how we are going to bring these two series of data together to improve public policy. Well, thank you very much.